Live from New York. It's the show that thinks tearing your Achilles is a big deal. Okay? Nobody else thinks it's a big deal.
It's the show that thinks week 1 of the 2024 season is the only thing that's ever happened in football and ever will happen in football.
Tore your Achilles, and now you don't look anything the same.
Sure, it's just a defensive scheme. Oh. Mike Tomlin.
No, Mike Tomlin did not affect how Kirk Cousins is moving around.
Okay, all right.
Just telling you, I'm right about it.
Okay.
I'm right about Joe Burrow's wrist.
We'll get to it. What did we talk about at the beginning of the
He's
show?
giving his takes in the intro.
I try to get people into it.
When it's time to talk,
Let's go.
Rogers' Achilles.
Let's go.
First things first. Josh versus Tua, who desperately need to win. Surprisingly, Bills underdogs in this one. Doesn't happen often. Here's what Josh pulled out. Not Josh Allen. Josh, our researcher. Fewest games as underdogs since 2022. The mighty San Francisco 49ers in the Avengers. Of course, no, you beat that. And then the Bills. That's counting tonight. So, Brew, who do you got?
That's really interesting because all those teams, I know this was the first thing that ran through Nick's mind. All those other teams have been to the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, but the other thing that ran through my mind is the Chiefs being underdogs seven times, including 4 of their last 5 playoff games. But go ahead.
Bills win tonight without question.
Without question.
The Bills, simply put, are a tough, hard-nosed football team. And the Dolphins, until further notice, they showed a little bit against Jacksonville, but until further notice, they're breakdancers.
Are you sure the Bills are tough this year?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I think they're a tough team. I mean, I think they're leaning into the toughness. They got rid of finesse players, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, so we can run the ball more. We got our 2 tight ends and all. Like, they're playing big boy football. And sure, the Dolphins, and I admit it, they muscled up against Jacksonville, but muscle up against a playoff team. Muscle up against a good football team, and then I will put the breakdancing analogy to rest once you
If they win tonight.
No, this is just the first step.
Okay.
This is the first step.
That would have been some real stakes.
No, the first
Retire
step.
the breakdancers.
It's unlike, see, first game means everything.
Well, what are we doing? Why don't we just
we got
cancel the show?
Weeks. We have
go watch a cooking show until the playoffs.
18 weeks. Muscle up against a few playoff
more
teams,
than once,
and then we'll be done with the breakdancing analogy.
But you like Buffalo tonight.
I like Buffalo because Josh Allen owns the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Check out this graphic. 11-2 against the Dolphins. Look at the yardage. Almost 300 a game. Nice completion percentage. Passer rating.
Crazy
Josh isn't always, that efficient.
No.
But again, you bring the Dolphins to town or we go visit them and then he goes off. And the other thing is this. Tyreek Hill, who is incredible, isn't incredible against the Bills.
Oh.
Look at this. Look at these numbers. And Tyreek won him the game last week against Jacksonville, but 7 games in the regular season, and some of those are Chiefs games.
Chiefs, yeah, I was
all
going
right,
to say they have.
but only 52 yards a game, only 2 touchdowns in 7 games. Now, I understand Buffalo's got a different defensive backfield now, of course, but I still think they're going to be able to keep Tyreek in control, and so Buffalo, no question.
So there are a lot of reasons Miami should win this game. Vegas thinks they will. They're the favorite. It's a short week, and they're at home. The Bills neither team got out of week 1 totally unscathed, but the Bills, I think, are more banged up, particularly defensively. And I thought where I was kind of pushing back a bit about are the Bills a tough team is defensively. They didn't look very tough against Arizona in week 1. They got run on, and, if they throw a pass interference flag at the end of that game, maybe the Bills lose that game. That was one of the ones we didn't talk so much about how close they were to maybe losing that game. And they were down 2 scores, 17-3 or 17-0 early in that game. And from an emotional standpoint, Miami has to win. Miami, if they are going to win the division, you have to at least split with Buffalo. Not that they can't win in Buffalo, but this is their spot, and Buffalo owned them last year. To Brew's point, once when they were flying their highest, coming off a 70-point game, the Bills cracked them. And then once when they were at their lowest after the Ravens had rolled them, the Bills beat them again. So all those things say this should be Miami's game.
Come on.
But I cannot pick Tua in this spot. Brew did the Josh Allen angle. Yep. I'm going to do the Tua angle because Tua in his career against this opponent is dreadful. Tua, whether it's because you see Josh Allen across the field, whether it's because some of the games have been cold, or whether it's because every year Tua's been in the league, the Bills have been good to very good, and doesn't excel in those matchups. Here's the other thing. I think Tua knows, and the Dolphins know, this is a very big game. And in the biggest spots in his career, Tua has failed to come through in each and every one of them. We showed you this graphic going into the playoff game last year. We have now updated it. Week 17, his first year as a starter. Tua, with the playoffs on the line, they get blasted, and he was bad. The next year, they need to win that week and the following week to make the playoffs. They get blasted, and he's bad. Last year, they can be the 1 seed going into week 17. Yep. They get blasted, and he's bad. Last year, they can win the division if they win in week 18. They don't get blasted, but he's bad. Last year, in his first ever playoff game, they get blasted, and he's bad.
It's freezing.
And so, yes, and I understand it was cold. In the Chiefs game, it was legitimately freezing. But Wilds, they paid this guy like he's great.
I know.
Some smart football people and you picked them to go to the Super Bowl. So they are not.
For the record, I thought the smart people included.
They are not some plucky underdog. They are the literal favorite.
Yep.
And I would argue they had the better performance of the two teams in week 1.
Yeah.
I think they were playing the tougher opponent, and they both had comeback victories. Right. But I thought Miami Allen was the best player on. Well, Tyreek's pretty damn good in week 1, but you understand. I thought
Allen was dominant.
Allen was dominant, but I thought the Dolphins had the better game. I just don't trust Tua in this spot, Wilds.
Okay. Well, I do, but I'm on thin ice.
Okay.
It's true. I'm a Patriots fan.
How you on thin ice?
Because I'm on thin ice.
You got them winning the division.
That's right. I
You didn't
am
bake
going to the
in
Super
or win
Bowl.
over the.
I am going to the Super Bowl. Yes.
So what are you on thin ice for?
Because I'm on thin ice. I'm out here fishing on thin ice.
Okay, go
with
ahead.
the Dolphins. I believe in Tua. Okay. I went through Tua's last 10 games, who he won and who he beat and who he lost to. He beat Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
He beat Tim Boyle. He beat Sam Howell.
Yeah.
He had that win against the Cowboys. That was big, that Dak win. And then the Prince. Here's who he lost to. Mahomes twice, Lamar, Josh, and an odd one to Will Levis. I think it was in Tennessee. So the problem I have is I think he belongs in this group. I think he belongs in the Mahomes, not in the Mahomes, the Lamar.
That next group.
The next group.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
With Lamar, Josh Allen, and Burrow?
Well, he leads the league in passing.
He thinks
I don't
he's
know.
better. Yeah.
He captains the number 1 offense, and the goal is to score points. Mm-hmm. That being said, if they lose tonight, my faith will be shaken. It's like going to a restaurant tonight that you've heard a lot about. You're like, I really want to go. I kind of believe in that chef. And you go, and you have a bad meal. After the meal, do you want me to come here like I still believe in that restaurant?
No.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say I'm not going again.
Can I tell you something just to further? Because I love when you bring up analogies I don't know that are coming, and then I can kind of respond in real time. I don't think that's the right analogy.
The bad restaurant?
You've been there plenty of times.
I've never been there. I like the other restaurant.
And the food hasn't been good.
It's not
time after time.
Not quite. It's a restaurant that all week leading up to it, folks have been like, I wouldn't trust that chef. I wouldn't. And you're like, not only do I trust him, I think he might be one of the 2 best chefs in the world. And you know what? I'm going to have my wedding reception at that restaurant. And then you show up, you have a mediocre meal and day in September, and you're like, cancel it all. No, you can't.
Yeah.
You already ignored everyone's advice and said, I'm not a fantasy football guy.
No.
I trust the numbers. Here are the numbers.
New data.
So one football game in September
week 2.
shouldn't shatter your confidence.
Well, it will.
Okay. Well,
okay. My confidence will be shattered if the list becomes Mahomes twice, Lamar, Josh twice, and Will Levis for no reason.
All right.
I need to have him. If he's who I think he is, today's the day. You have the running backs are a little bit banged up. Yeah. That's not great. Jalen Ramsey a little bit banged up. it is what it is. Buffalo traded their entire team in the offseason.
Right.
We should be able to make it work. You're at home. It's at night, so the weather's not really a thing. Yeah. But I need Tua to win. If not, I'm abandoning ship.
What if he plays well and they lose 35-32 or something like that?
Then I think you can stay on.
I'll stay on. We'll tune in tomorrow to see what I'm
If Tua's excellent and their defense just can't stop them, then I think that is oddly less concerning than if they win and Tua's awful. If Tua, you know what I mean? If they win 14-13.
He might be he's typically awful in these games.
In this, he was
and I like him.
He was 17 of 27 for 173 yards. He threw a killer interception to end the game.
Yeah, we all saw it.
It wasn't
I
good.
haven't missed the playoffs. You haven't been in the Super Bowl.
That was last year. But when I say something from last year.
You brought up from last year. I didn't read those stats. You just read those stats. I said I haven't against
one of your guys. You're like, it's a brand new year. I'm sorry.
Mean?
Are we doing the last year?
You brought up the stats, not me.
I'm saying it's not going to happen.
The point you made. Go. Can we go to Joe Burrow, please?
Wristwatch. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm right about this. Joe Burrow responded to the viral video of him gingerly holding a Gatorade bottle and moving his surgically repaired wrist that no quarterback has had worked on. The same injury. I can't even pronounce the ligament. Joe Burrow, the guy's online. Week 1 versus the Patriots. Passed the sticks, 4 for 8 for 59 yards. Short of the sticks, 17 for 21 for 105 yards. Is anyone worried about Joe?
Listen, I have found the Joe Burrow commentary the last 72 hours bordering on hysterical and not bordering on, but just full-blown ludicrous. There has been so much, where is this energy for Joe that we have for Lamar, that we have for Josh Allen, which is a lot, would be a lot like if, just pick a guy, Kevin Durant struggles in a playoff series and they're like, where's the energy you have for Joel Embiid for Kevin Durant? Like, well, they're different guys with different histories, and that matters in how we talk about them. Joe Burrow is a spectacular quarterback that is his really only weakness when healthy is he is somewhat physically limited. He doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the most agile. He's not the strongest. Like, he is able to achieve at a super high level despite the fact he's probably around league average as far as measurables, which is why he is a guy that if he's not close to 100% looks terrible. His calf is a little banged up. He can't play well. If Wilds is right that his wrist is legitimately still hurt, it shows up. But this idea that is being propagated online and by other talk show hosts, oh, he's been bad for 2 years, is a lie. It's nonsense. We had a conversation on this show last year going into the game he hurt his wrist. Could he win the MVP of the league? Because after the opening 4 weeks last year, once his calf got healthy, this is what he did. What he did weeks 5 through 9, he looked like the best quarterback in the league. And that was coming off a 2-year stretch where we can show you what he did. He was the second best quarterback in the league. So do I think it's, when people are like, why aren't we doing this? Why are we giving Joe Burrow more margin better than we give Lamar or we give Josh Allen at times? Because we have seen Joe Burrow win in big spots and play great in big spots that those guys haven't. We have seen Joe Burrow go into Josh Allen's house in the playoffs, outplay him when Josh laid an egg. We have seen Joe Burrow have 2 playoff runs better than any 1 playoff run Lamar has had. That's why. That is what you earn by it is clear. Listen, am I worried about him? If his wrist is really still hurt, he will not be good. And do I think we have overrated Joe Burrow? Do I think that, like, time for the receipts on Joe Burrow? I think people are idiots. I think he's clearly one of the best quarterbacks in the league, Brew, and has been for the last 4 years.
Well, because one of the comments made is he's living off that Super Bowl. One of the reasons he's living off the Super Bowl appearance is because he's only had 2 fully healthy seasons. And in both of them, he got to the AFC title game, and one of them, he got to the Super Bowl and did do what almost nobody can do, which is beat Mahomes, particularly in Kansas City. All right, and we're still very close to that time. He's only played 4 years, and 2 of them were healthy. So look, 8 years from now, if he has not gotten to another Super Bowl, then he won't be living off that.
Right, or
and he'll be getting criticized and ripped.
Correct.
Right. But it was so recent, and he hasn't been healthy that's why he's living off of that, and he does get a pass for that. But I will, to answer your question, I'm a little bit worried. Because we have to face it. Joe Burrow is frail. All right, I'm thinking of him now like Anthony Davis. And I think he's better like at his game than Anthony is at his as great as he is.
But that's a fair comment.
But right, like when he's healthy, he's going to be great. But I always have to bake in in the back of my mind. But is he going to be healthy? And I mean, we are already the risk. I think you make a little sense because he clearly was, doing something with it throughout the game and then didn't have a great game. So I do have to bake that in for Joe Burrow. Look, I think this game, Nick, is big. They clearly know it's big. It's against Kansas City, your rival, and he's played great, as you know, against the Chiefs. The last game against them, he had 2 interceptions in that playoff game. But out for the most part, look at these numbers against the Chiefs. So if he goes out there and really lays an egg, then you can either say, dude is banged up, like he's just not himself. You could, I guess, chalk it up to he struggles in the first 2 weeks. But there will be concern either way about Burrow. If they can lose, but if he doesn't play well at all, then it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Okay. If he's healthy, I don't think he's healthy just for the way he was moving around. If he's healthy, 3 things have to be true. 1, the Patriots are awesome because they just beat a healthy Joe Burrow at home.
It's week 1.
Hold on. Go ahead.
I
want to hear the rest of them.
All right, go ahead. I'm just saying he's 1-8 in the first 2 weeks in his career.
Okay, but the game. I understand that I'm trying to have I think game 1's it did matter.
No, it did matter. It's not everything, but
I know, but it has to. We can't just be like it's because next week we're gonna be like it's week 2.
No, that's fine. I want to hear the 3 things.
We're gonna be in a tough spot.
I want to hear the 3.
1, the Patriots are awesome, which maybe they are.
Yeah.
2, they just had a horrible game plan where Joe Burrow is going to turn into check down Charlie and just bop, 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 and not throw the ball down the field. And 3, they've got no chance to beat the Chiefs if they're losing to the Patriots at home, and then they get a well-rested Chiefs in their building without T. Higgins.
But that's where and we can, if we want to stay on this for a minute, we can do the Chiefs stuff later. That's fine. We have a bulletin board edition, but we can do that later in the show. We got plenty of time. I feel like we need to recognize week 1 matters. It's important.
Yes.
It is also, all of NFL history tells us, not necessarily indicative of anything that's going to happen the rest of the year. And that we do, this idea that it has to be so binary of either the Patriots are great or they had a terrible game plan or the Bengals can't beat the Chiefs. We saw the Cowboys last year look absolutely unstoppable the first 2 weeks of the year, then lay an egg against Arizona, then look unstoppable.
Week 2 and 3 is totally different. Week 1 I'm talking about.
And I also think we have to put all of the quarterback performances in week 1, the great get extra credit and the bad get less negative credit in the context of the whole league struggled quarterbacking except for 5 guys. The 100 and what did he have? 150 yards in this game?
Yeah,
the league average, I think, was 165.
Well, Caleb dragged a lot of it down.
Well, no, but so even the Caleb thing, and so is it possible that Burrow is less than 100%? The Patriots defense is maybe a little better than Brew and I expected, maybe what you expected.
Yeah.
The Bengals struggle early in the year. Yeah. All of those things. It doesn't have to, and all of that can be true, and it can mean that I think the Bengals are very live this week. The Bengals play the Chiefs tough. This is their Super Bowl. They're opening their stadium for people to watch it like it's a Super Bowl. I don't think it has to be as black and white as you're laying it out to be. I think it is totally in play. Week 1's legitimate, and the Patriots end up with 4 wins, and the Bengals end up really good. That's possible. We see that over. Last year, the Jets beat the Bills in week 1 without Aaron Rodgers, and it wasn't really indicative of anything for either of those teams.
Maybe. I don't know.
Go ahead, go.
Well, I thought we saw the Lions beat the Chiefs. Lions were real. The Lions are going to play gritty football, and the Chiefs are going to drop the ball.
Sometimes.
And it happened the whole time.
Yes.
We see Josh Allen lose to the Jets. Josh Allen is willing to give away a game with his
that we
turnover.
already knew, but then we also saw plenty of things last year in Week 1 that did not end up being the case all throughout the entirety of the season. We know that.
Nah.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.